So the phases of analysis that we went through had to do with creating some a priori codes that were based on a literature review. We had a very large team of researchers that were working with us, so we were looking across a broad spectrum of issues, and all of those categories of analysis were included in our initial coding. And as we moved along, we used both inductive and deductive coding mechanisms. And what you'll hear about next is just the overview of what we came out with major themes. And Katie will discuss the first one.
This graph here is just laying out the four corners that we're going to talk about. I should note that what we're presenting here is what we found stronger and more consistently in the odds-beating schools. The typically performers often had one or two of these components, but we're not as consistently high on all of them. One question that I often get, or we often get, is, well, were the odds-beating schools really different? I'm the quantitative person on the team, and so we did include a survey, and I'd like to say that yes, they are distinctly different, even statistically significantly different. These are responses to a survey that was given to the elementary school at the time the state was conducting the test. We can see in our typically performing schools, over 60% of our teachers were worried about their jobs. We got that in the interviews too. Not so for our odds-beating schools. Our odds-beating school teachers also agreed that the new standards were really helping them feel more satisfied with their teaching. We use this as an example of the creation or an indicator of the amount of relational trust that they had. And from the interviews, we asked, well, why do you feel like your job's not in danger? And they said, well, because my principal supports me. And here's one quote. So in terms of APPR changing anything, it hasn't changed my rapport with my teachers. It has changed the way we do things in the end, but I don't want them to dwell on their APPR score. That's the teacher evaluation score. Keep doing the successful things that you're doing. Everyone is safe in your learning environment. You're doing it right. Keep things going. Just keep doing it. Now, Kristen's going to talk about how this lays the foundation for the other things that come next.
So one of our colleagues, Hal Lawson, another co-I on this study, we talked about this as being kind of an organizational garden was set for these better practices to be taking place. And so relational trust, tills that soil of having an organizational garden that supports good communication networks, and this is just an example of how culture and communication are related to how culture is related to communication. So the idea of consistent communication and happening across multiple levels was important in these schools and districts, as well as collaborative work structures. People were working in inquiry teams. They were using data, and they were consistently revisiting what the data were telling them about the performance of the students in their buildings. And then finally, we found it was very interesting that these schools were using some particular strategies among the leaders in the district and school offices in helping the implementation of these different innovations into these schools. So in the center, you see Help It Happen and teachers responding to these new requirements of them in a want-to way. And so we invite you to take a look at some of these things in some of our publications that are available on the New York Kids website, as well as we have a book coming out in Roman Littlefield that goes into more detail about our results. Thank you.